Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Plutonium Show. Thanks for joining us. Hope you all had a good weekend. Let's get straight into today's topics. Last week, we discussed King Charles and Queen Camilla's tour here with us down under. They have since left us, unfortunately. And I really hope they come back again before the end of their reign, which unfortunately the end of their reign would mean the death of King Charles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll be back. I'm sure they will. And from everything I've understood in the post visit, they had a mostly warm reception.
Oh, yeah, they had a great reception. People really turned out in droves. We'll get to that because that's an actual whole topic in and of itself involving Meghan and Harry later on in today's episode. But when we filmed last week's episode.
It just feels like it was just yesterday.
It really does. It really does. When we filmed the episode, the Canberra incident with Senator Lydia Thorpe hadn't happened yet. And so what happened was I was editing and it was the afternoon and I was, just looking at the news and it pops up. So I did manage, thankfully, to put in a clip of her, a screenshot rather of the incident, which was doing the rounds in news articles. But we didn't talk about it.
No, missed it by that much.
But you know what? I'm kind of glad we did. We missed it. Because we would have just been able to comment on the incident that happened and we wouldn't have had enough time to dig into Senator Lydia Thorpe herself.
Yeah.
What you want to say? Something?
I was just going to say, it feels like that is something that you have consciously done on your channel for a long time. You don't necessarily hop on something as soon as it happens. You'd rather look at the deeper meaning. So you take the time to understand all the facts, collect all the evidence, that sort of thing. And I know that you're a bit shy when it comes to compliments.
Well, I'll say why I'm smiling, but keep going. Keep going. But, I like what I'm hearing.
Yeah. It's almost like a happy accident that it happened while we were filming, and now we can talk about it in greater detail.
Yeah. I was only smiling because it sounded like you were doing like an ad or sponsorship about me. No, it's all right. No, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I really do try hard with this channel. So I'm going to play a clip. It's not nice. Obviously, I think it's been censored because it's on the news, but I will play the clip of what happened right after King Charles's speech. Some of you may have already seen it. I don't think you've seen it yet.
I'm living under my rock.
So we're going to start off there just to get a feel for this woman, because I had never heard of her before. Have you?
Nope. Never
seen anything about her before, which is surprising because it turns out this is just a normal day for her. This behavior that she indulged in was par for the course. So let's have a look.
Oh, all right. I'm going to start with the freshest thing on my head. Tell me if you've heard this one before. Taking good causes, taking good motives and things that need to be discussed and tainting them in the worst possible way to destroy them and essentially undo any of the work that has been done by previous people. Sounds like a Meghan to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing here, because the words coming out of her mouth, she is obviously touching on issues that Australia has been touching on, and more recently than not, but something that has to be discussed amongst our culture, right? We can't ignore our past, and to do so would be foolish. However, from my personal experience of what I've seen in Australia recently, we have started acknowledging the people of the land at almost every single event everywhere.
In fact, King Charles did just that.
Yep.
When you saw him in this clip, everyone, he had just finished his speech. Yep. He sat down, and I'll put in a clip of him acknowledging the people of the land as well.
Auntie Violet, on behalf of the Nunavut people and the Wiradjuri echoes, ladies and gentlemen.
And that sort of thing happens everywhere. Every single if you imagine for the people who are unaware, imagine Australia as the map you understand it. Well, the Aboriginals have a completely different map of how they saw the land before Captain Cook. So their map has all different names for the places that they consider important. And when they acknowledge the land, they're acknowledging the exact map and the exact place they are. And people will painstakingly go, wait, what land are we on? Where are we right now? Okay, I have to make sure I say the right things. Because someone's making an effort. Even if it's not enough for everything that's happened, there are efforts being made. And the way that she's acting is nothing's been done.
Yeah, and again, King Charles, in the clip that I've played, you will notice he would have thanked the it was the land of the, and I'm gonna try not to butcher this because I heard him say it. I looked up how Aboriginal people say it, the Ngunnawal land or people, and that was a particular land they were in Canberra.
Exactly.
And he did acknowledge that. And when you see it, you think, oh wow, that's pretty extreme. But as I've said, this is just normal for her. There is a clip of her from, I believe, last year outside a Melbourne strip club. From my understanding, she was in the club and was leaving it. I also want to say, actually, before I forget, when I first heard of this news, I remember even telling you, because you asked me, you were like, how old is she? Like, how is she? And I said, I don't know. She looks like she's around our age. I didn't see her close up. But I think because of that behavior, which I'm not saying young people like us behave that way, we don't. But when someone behaves that way, at least for me, my instinct is to assume they're on the younger side. Mm-hmm. Because it's really, the older you get, the more unhinged you seem when you behave that way.
Absolutely, because we're meant to get better with age. We're meant to get wiser. We're meant to be calmer. We're meant to know how to approach situations in a different way. This is a child.
Exactly, but guess how old she is? I was really shocked. Again, I thought she was mid-20s to early 30s. She's 53. And I only learned a few hours ago, as I was doing more last minute, kind of making sure I've got everything in, that she's a grandmother.
Wow.
She's a grandmother.
Oh my gosh.
So, and she's brought out her grandchildren with her to these types of protests, which I'll be showing you one example of. But this is her outside a strip club when she sees a few white men, presumably, maybe also a few black with them, outside the strip club. They're patrons of the club and they're just outside.
A racist bomb. Oh, penis, God. How dare you say that? Any black man that stands with a white little like that, you can all get.
The aftermath of this is that the manager has banned her permanently from that club, which is what makes me think she was a patron of the club, because she wasn't just walking by. She goes to that club. And there's one more before you comment.
This is a war. They are still killing us.
So as you can see, and by the way, in that last video, the blurred faces, my understanding is especially the small child is her grandchild, according to Lydia's father, who would be her great-grandfather. And we're going to hear from him soon, because he's the person who basically lets all of us know, inadvertently, that she is just another Meghan Markle, that King Charles just can't seem to get away from the Meghan Markle types.
Man.
So yeah, that was her grandchild, and she's bringing her out, and these are the seeds that she is sowing in that innocent child, filling her heart and mind with hatred when we are meant to be doing the opposite now. Just because we try to get together today and try to move away from divisiveness, that doesn't mean we're ignoring the past.
No, in fact, the only way to acknowledge the past and to come to terms with it is to do it together. And here we see the very definition of separation, because here she is screaming that this is a war. Oh, okay. But if it wasn't a war, that means you're trying to declare war, which means you are anything but peace. And if you want to resolve something, properly resolve something, war is not the answer. If you want to go into diplomatic communication with anyone, you don't rock up with a weapon.
Yeah. So we don't want to linger. We're not going to talk about the political angles. We don't do that on this channel yet. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, gosh. And going back to the strip club video, she's a patron of a strip club and she's a senator. If you saw a male senator being a patron of a strip club, right? Which I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but would that not be the biggest scandal ever? And here we are just like, oh, it's not that she's at the strip club being a patron. It's that she picked a fight.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, the double standards. If it was a male senator, then his whole reputation would be ruined because he was caught going out of a strip club.
And I honestly think that I don't understand why there haven't been more measures for her. She shouldn't be called senator anymore. Senator of what? Like, what's going on here? Why is she allowed to make a mockery of not only her own people, but of everyone, of our entire government?
Of Australia.
Of the entire country.
Yeah.
Because senator assumes that you represent this country. And I'm not saying that every person who has the name senator is like squeaky clean. That's impossible. The fact that politicians even exist means that there's going to be some corruption there. But this is the worst of the worst from what I've seen, from what I understand. How is she still a senator?
Well, there have been calls for her to step down, but again, now we're verging on the political. Although I will say her response to all the backlash was, this is racism and misogyny. Does that sound familiar?
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, so look, we're kind of spending a bit too much time on this woman. I will end it by saying that her own father has called her a racist.
Well, the way I see it, the way she is and the way she's changed over the years is that I think she's a very racist person against white people. She doesn't acknowledge any of her white side.
She never acknowledges that part of her. She is English and Irish on her father's side. I don't know if her mother is full Aboriginal or also mixed, but we're getting another biracial Meghan Markle situation here where Meghan is completely ignoring her white side, which is very dominant in Meghan, and pretending that she is only black. And her own father, and I will play a clip, has said she basically pretends I don't exist. She has never once mentioned me. She has never mentioned and acknowledged her white heritage. And he called her a flat out racist against white people. And of course, we don't need her father to tell us based on what we saw from that footage outside the strip club.
Absolutely. And it doesn't suddenly not become racist when you happen to be in the minority that has experienced racism before.
Exactly.
It's still racism both ways. If you want to actually get to a resolution, you don't take up the same weapons that have been used against you in the past and use them against your oppressor when they're saying, hey, let's have a conversation. We've evolved past that.
Yes, well, she's been condemned by the Indigenous elder, Auntie Violet, who was there with King Charles and Queen Camilla in Canberra and who introduced them. And King Charles acknowledged her in his speech as well. She's been called disrespectful. And basically, Auntie Violet said she doesn't represent us. This is not behavior we condone. This behavior does not reflect who we are as an Indigenous people. From my understanding and my interactions with Indigenous people, they are people who honor and value respect, especially to their elders.
Yep.
And sorry.
I've worked with Aboriginals before, and I haven't ever experienced any. I have nothing bad to say.
They're the sweetest,
Yep.
most soft-spoken, gentle people. And most importantly, the point I want to come back to is they respect their elders so much. And King Charles is an elderly man in his mid to late 70s going through cancer. This, like Meghan and Harry, was elder abuse.
Absolutely.
You don't yell at an old man like that in any situation, unless he did something horrific, unless he committed a crime personally.
Yeah.
You hold him accountable. But what did King Charles do? He wasn't alive in the 18th century.
He wasn't. And I would wager to say that if she was a man, she would no longer be a senator and she would probably be locked up.
I don't know about locked up, but as I said, there have been calls for her to step down and she refuses. So
she's not going to go down without a fight. I think everyone knows that's clear. She needs to have disciplinary action taken against her because you are not speaking to someone who is of sound mind.
that's what Albanese said last year after the strip club incident. He said he told her, I think to her face, you need help. And she disagreed, called it misogyny and racism. And her father also disagreed and said, no, she's just a really strong woman. Now, this is where he again reminds me of Thomas Markle, where you've got this bias. You clearly love your daughter. But anywho, I really need to move on from this topic. We have spent far too long. All right, so you all remember how in the Oprah interview, Meghan and Harry waxed lyrical about how they were, the Australia tour was the moment. That's when they knew that they were something special. They were gods among us. They were rock stars, the pinnacle. And the royal family were all threatened and jealous of Meghan in particular based on her performance there. A performance where, mind you, nothing to me stood out as memorable other than rumors of her throwing hot tea at a staff member and wearing extremely inappropriate clothing to the point where she flashed her undies and most of her legs when she was, and her top, actually, her bust, when she was on official duty. This wasn't an off-duty moment, where she was wearing some beach clothes because she was off duty. No, that's all I remember. So I don't know what they're talking about with her performance and how, stellar she was at the job.
Oh my gosh.
But there's this author who frequently, Australian reporter who frequently comments on royal topics, and her name is Daniela Elser. And I came across this article when I was doing some more research about the tour, King Charles and Queen Camilla's tour. It's titled "The Painful Truth for Harry and Meghan Exposed by King Charles's Australia Tour." Okay, so based on what I have just said, Meghan and Harry felt they were rock stars when they went to Australia. Daniela has this message for them. She says, "Dear Harry and Meghan, it's not you, it's us. You thought you were special. We thought you were special. But it turns out that we as a nation are just hooked on on royalty." And she's basing this on the fact that on Tuesday last week, an estimated 10,000 people thronged and jostled and queued and waited on the Sydney Opera House forecourt, the Botanic Gardens, and on boats to see King Charles and Queen Camilla. And basically, it's the exact same thing that happened 6 years ago when Meghan and Harry visited us.
And also important to note, this was before the Oprah interview and before their massive fall from grace,
Yes.
when the truth had come out and people went, whoa, hold on a second, this one's not right in the head.
Yeah, absolutely. And so she says, with one fell swoop, Sydney has just managed to crush a major claim that goes to the very heart of Megxit. The claim being they're jealous, they couldn't handle Meghan, so they made life difficult for her, they pushed her out. Or rather, they say, oh, we had no choice but to leave. But the implication is that they were pushed out. Life was made difficult for them because, the real royals couldn't stomach Meghan outshining them as the foreigner.
I feel like putting something up on the screen here that's called the Golden Rule. And the Golden Rule is every time these sorts of people tell a lie, flip it around, do the opposite. They're often projecting. So from what it sounds like, Meghan Markle made the royals' life a living hell. Meghan Markle was trying to push out the royals of their own palace, and Meghan Markle was the one who decided to leave, not getting pushed out.
Absolutely. Spot on. We all know this now. And exactly, she is projecting. This is what these people do. Whenever a narcissist or someone like Meghan tells you something to your face, it is most often the exact opposite. Now, the one thing I disagree with in this article, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, I just wanted to really give you the gist of it, is that apparently Harry is really talented. Give the guy a microphone and a stage and it's magic. Or, rather, she said he can give a really good speech. I really disagree, but I'm going to save that for the next topic, which is coming next on this episode. I just want to linger a little bit more on this one. To be honest, Daniela, you're a little bit late to the party. I understand that there hasn't really been a major royal tour since. There has been the what people call the disastrous tour of the Caribbean that William and Catherine went on 2.5 years ago because of all the colonization topics that were spurred on by Meghan and Harry.
Yep.
So there was that. But we've always maintained this. Those of us who have been commentating on this topic for the last 4 years, there was never anything special about Meghan and Harry. She was just the new flavor of the month.
Yeah.
You know, and what all the adulation she got when she became engaged and on the way to the wedding, Catherine got too. Any royal bride who is seen as on the younger side in her 30s, that's just what's going to happen. People are enthralled by royalty, you know? Even people who didn't care about royalty, like me, for example, tuned into the wedding because it's like this magical thing happening in real time.
Yep, it's not every day a prince gets married, but anyone could have been walking down that aisle. Any person. And boy, oh boy, do we all wish as a collective it was anyone else but Meghan, because my goodness, anyone else deserved it more than her.
Oh, be careful. We're going to get Lydia Thorpe banging on our door screaming racism and misogyny.
I think that's trespassing. Oh, wait, can I claim trespassing, or because I'm a man I can't do that?
But really, it's straight out of her, you know, Meghan's book, right? Just, you're racist and you're misogynistic. That's why you are saying these things. But for real, this is what my last video was kind of about. Meghan failed to understand that it's really nothing to do with you, sweetie. It really isn't. It's about the position you have filled.
Yep. And there are certain expectations of a position. For example, if someone gets a CEO position, we have expectations, right? That person will do their duty as a CEO. That is why they're in that position. But if they walk around just going, I'm the CEO, and don't do any work and actually send the company into the ground, as Meghan's done with her megxit thing, then we're all going to be like, wow, that's a really bad CEO. Maybe someone else should fill the role.
Yeah. And before we move on to the next topic, I want to also say that this is something I forgot to mention last week, but I'm glad I did because, again, the Sydney Harbour meetup, the Opera House meetup and meet and greet didn't happen yet. This is proof that, you know, because King Charles and Queen Camilla were embroiled in their own controversy in the 90s with the whole affair, the scandal, Diana. And they were hated and ridiculed, both of them, for years, especially Queen Camilla, for years and years and years. But look at them now. You know, they made mistakes. They are human, but they put their heads down. They kept on with the job.
Yep.
Camilla wasn't even a member of the royal family for the longest time before she got married in, I believe, 2005. And she kept her head down, and you know, you're dignified. You soldier on. You get through it. You weather the storm, and you emerge at the other end.
Yep, that's exactly it. And if Harry and Meghan had kept their heads down, this would be a very different conversation. But they didn't. What's
crazy is they weren't even criticized in that way.
Yeah.
She just was nitpicking at every little tiny thing.
Yep.
Oh, she's, you know, that dumb article almost straight out of Compton. That's it. It was over. That's when Harry released that statement in 2016 condemning everyone of racism and misogyny and bullying.
Doesn't sound like a strong woman. Sounds like a sensitive little flower there. You can't handle one article and you're literally in the royal family. Sorry, honey, they're going to write a few more articles about you.
Exactly. And she was just nitpicking that. What they went through, because it was nothing, in 2018, 2019, in the lead up to Megxit, was nothing in comparison to the nightmare that King Charles and Queen Camilla went through.
Yep.
And I'm not condoning what they did. An affair is an affair. You know? If it were up to me, cheating would be punishable, a punishable offense.
Yep.
I really mean it. There is no place in society for infidelity in my books. And I'm not an idealist. I'm a realist. I know what's going to happen. I know what happens. I'm just trying to tell you, I'm not taking lightly what they did.
No, we're not shoving this under the rug.
But the point is, they I don't know if they atoned necessarily, but it is what it is. You know, they did it and they moved past it and now they are together. And if only Meghan and Harry could look at them as an example, but they won't. We all know they won't.
Of course not.
To see, hey, maybe if we just put our heads down and stopped steering, you know, BS.
Yeah.
Like Lydia Thorpe likes to do. That's something else she has in common with Meghan. She clearly revels in attention.
Yeah, it's just the Australian Meghan Markle. She's not sitting there going, oh, the Prime Minister directly addressed me. I should probably think about my actions. She's thinking, of course the Prime Minister addressed me. I'm Lydia Thorpe.
It's exhausting. Don't people grow up? You're 53 and Meghan, you're 43.
I genuinely think that growing up is a choice, and some people genuinely don't make the choice. One day you go, I am going to start acting like an adult, and you start making that choice to act like an adult in situations. Instead of chucking a tantrum like a child, you do something different. And people like Meghan, no, they're still a child inside. Arrested development. It's never going to change because she's never going to grow up.
I'm glad you said just people like Meghan, because this is a segue to the next topic, which is we need to stop just saying people like Meghan, which I try to remind you every episode. I understand she is the puppeteer.
Yeah.
But Harry is a 40-year-old grown father of two, and he is not to be excused.
Absolutely not.
So recently, author Tina Brown, who wrote a book that I haven't read in full, I read extracts when it was published, called The Palace Papers, has recently appeared on a podcast called the Ankler Podcast. And she basically said that Meghan Markle, well, she said a few things, okay? She criticized Meghan, rightfully so. The things she said were on point. So, for instance, she has the worst judgment of anyone in the entire world.
Oh, gosh. That's just a perfect summary of Meghan Markle right there. Spot on.
Yeah. But then she goes, Harry is very good at being Prince Harry. And that's the tragedy of all of this, is that he, and I'm quoting her, is the most talented member of the royal family, without doubt, in terms of being a prince, which is all he does know how to do. He's really sort of flawless at it. And then Meghan, she says, I think he's pretty much in the thrall of Meghan. The trouble with Meghan is that she has the worst judgment of anyone in the entire world. She is flawless about getting it all wrong. She really is.
You know who has the second worst judgment in the entire world? Prince Harry. Because look who he ended up with.
Absolutely.
My goodness. All right. If I was taught how to do something from the day I was born, okay, figuratively, obviously, then I would hope that I was at least somewhat semi-good at it, especially if it was something like speaking in public. Hey, you're a prince. You're going to do a lot of public engagements. We're going to teach you this from day one, right? So Prince Harry being a good prince, as in like he has charisma, he has been trained to have what little charisma he has and put it on stage, right? So I'm not knocking his public speaking, because when he speaks in public, you go, okay, this guy's been trained. He knows what he's doing. But to praise that, it's like, I don't know. It's not worth praising. If he was actually a philanthropist and actually doing good in the world, sure, I would look at it, the whole package. But he's a really sour grape that does one thing really well. And Meghan's just exposed that to the world. He doesn't get off. He doesn't... he's just no.
I get really irritated when, I don't know why it tends to be older women like Angela Levin and now Tina Brown, and they just seem to blame everything on Meghan and heap all the criticism on her. And then they say, oh, poor Harry, he's just a lamb that's been led to the slaughter. He's just naive. She actually says here, he was naive and really unschooled in the ways of the world, which is true. He was unschooled in the ways of the world. You would be when you're a spoiled brat prince who never even had to open his own car door for himself.
I mean, isn't that like the point of being a good prince, though, is to understand what the people that you are underneath have going on? It's to be a little bit down to earth and not be stuck in the clouds in your palace. So he's not a good prince because he's been spoiled. And it's not that he couldn't have someone open his doors and then not also be down to earth, but we're missing part of this equation.
What I hate is how she said he's the most talented, without a doubt. What are you talking about? Where did Princess Anne go? Princess Anne, who does over 500 engagements a year, and she is well into her 70s now. She has never stopped from the moment she became a working royal. She's the most talented royal in the whole bunch.
I mean, where do you even start with this? When I look at William and I look at the things he does with Catherine and the public engagements he goes to and how people are genuinely smiling and happy to see the two of them, right? I'm trying to remember which particular engagement it was they went to. It was a little while back. We showed it on the podcast, but I remember the feeling, right? People who don't remember things, they don't remember facts, they remember feelings. So I remember the feeling of going, I'm so happy that these people got to meet him. But when Meghan and Harry are somewhere, I go, oh, the poor things, I shouldn't be thinking that about someone who's good at being a prince. I think the talent lies in William.
I would have thought that Tina Brown, as a royal biographer, would have known that the palace PR was Harry's saving grace. Yep. The palace PR set up his whole image. They set up everything for him. They set up the Invictus Games Foundation for him. They arranged all his events. They gave him media training. They also curated what was allowed in the public and what was not, and he's a product of PR perfection. Well, the old version of Prince Harry. And I again want to acknowledge that actually a lot of members of our audience say they never liked him, even when he was, the popular prince.
Because they could see through him.
Yes.
Just like I could see through Meghan on her wedding day. And even before that, I went, something's wrong with this. I can imagine people seeing that with Harry.
Yeah. I mean, with me, I remember he always got on my nerves. He seemed like someone, if I was around him, he'd be really irritating really quickly.
And that's your human instinct going, alarm bells, alarm bells.
But let's just stop heaping all blame on her. He's not some person that she, took advantage of. He's not some disabled person or a child. He's presumably, I know he dabbles in drugs, but presumably a fully functioning adult in the sense that he's responsible for his own actions.
Yeah.
Tina Brown goes on to say, Meghan's a perfectionist about getting it all wrong. Yes,
yep.
Absolutely.
Very good.
I agree.
Yep.
Her issue is that she doesn't listen. Absolutely.
Yep.
Literally the last few videos I've been making, I accidentally started a series called The Curse of the Narcissist.
I love it when that happens.
And been going through one by one, basically, the weaknesses of being a narcissist. And of course, prime amongst them is the inability to learn, to listen.
When you're at the end of the series, I'm curious to know the answer to this question because I want to wait until the series has naturally reached its conclusion to figure this out. Is narcissism built purely on weakness? Because that's a really fascinating thing in my head. If narcissism is the compensation for someone who's really weak inside or really fragile.
Well, it is. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but
yeah.
I think I've watched over 1,000 videos about this topic since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And the core of a narcissist is a fragile ego.
Yeah.
Is a deep, profound sense of insecurity. Mm-hmm. And therefore, they come up with this persona that they end up believing in order to survive, really, of pure perfection. Yeah. How dare you? I am perfect. Mm-hmm. It's this coping mechanism.
And then when people threaten that, they get extremely aggressive.
Narcissistic rage. Yep. There's a term for it.
Here's another thing, too, just on this one. If we're going to heap the blame all on Meghan, let's take a very small detour into just let's look at this as if they were politicians for a second. If Meghan was the head, Harry's second in charge, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there's too much connecting them there. It's not like, yes, we've seen Harry be a lapdog. We've seen him pulled along the leash. We've seen him at public engagements where he's like, I would rather be anywhere else. But we have also seen him do plenty of stuff on his own. He is Meghan's second in charge for Meghan's dictatorship. There's just no other way around it. They exist as a package, and without Harry, there would be no Meghan.
It's interesting. I'm not going to get into the whole, are they getting divorced? Because that's all rumors, and we don't dabble with that. But right now, because Harry has basically not been seen publicly for a while, people are like, oh, you said they're a package, they're a unit. And so you reminded me that actually there's a lot of discussion now that they're probably separating. And she's, is Harry in the discard phase of the narcissistic kind of dynamic of abuse? You know how they love bomb and then they discard. But again, that's neither here nor there at this point. I just wanted to note that, it's interesting that you say they're a package, because I suppose time will tell if they will remain as salt and pepper, always moving together. All right, finally, joke of the week. This is what I kept from you.
She kept it from me. She's like, I got to see the natural reaction.
I always leave the jokes of the week from you. Harper's Bazaar, which is, one of their mouthpieces, has come up with the 50 hottest men of all time. Of all time, okay? Not alive, ever. Prince Harry featured.
just
As the... You want to guess the number?
Top 10.
No.
Not even top 10?
No.
Okay. Good.
Give me a number.
Okay, 25.
Yeah. Oh my... Did you read?
No.
Did you cheat?
No, I went, all right, pick the middle of the list.
He is the 25th hottest man ever. And look, I'm scrolling down now through the list and I'm seeing all the men that preceded him. And I'm just like, sorry, not attractive, not attractive, not attractive, not attractive. So clearly this is a list you cannot take seriously. Come on. Orlando Bloom is hotter than Prince Harry. Sorry.
Okay.
He just is. And he's number 28.
I haven't got any stake in this race. This list is not for me.
No, it's not.
However, I will clearly say...
Channing Tatum! 33?
Uh-oh, she's coming for you. Run.
Are you kidding me? Channing Tatum is less hot than
Oh god.
I'm malfunctioning.
Gosh. Let's
I'm actually malfunctioning right
the
now.
thing you said at the beginning. This is a mouthpiece for Meghan and Harry, right?
Channing Tatum, number 33.
This is a mouthpiece for Meghan and Harry?
So here's a true story. Until I met Zach, I was quite young when I met Zach, I had a teenage crush on Channing Tatum. I just did. I loved his Magic Mike movies. The moment I met you, the very next day after we first met, I went to see Magic Mike
2.
Yes.
The sequel.
And I was like, not doing it for me anymore. I'm serious. I was sitting there and I'm just like, well, wow. Like Zach ruined everything because Channing wasn't doing it for me anymore because I'm monogamous. The switch went off.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. This is quite the tangent.
Oh god. If this is a mouthpiece for Meghan and Harry, then I'm just going to disregard everything on this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it works, Obviously something I can't weigh in on because I have no
you're a
opinion.
man.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
I'm gonna link the article in the description box. Ladies, have a look through it. They've got some really old timers like James Dean and Elvis Presley. I was gonna say what's his face again?
What's his
About
face?
Elvis Presley. Steve McQueen. I don't know who Robert Redford is. Clint Eastwood. So it's an interesting list, but Prince Harry has no place in it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Here's something I will add, right? Magic Mike. Haven't seen it, but
It's not for you.
Thank you. I know it's not for me, but you can tell me how many abs Channing Tatum has, right? Yes.
Well, you can Google it. It's fine.
I'm not going to Google it. It's not for me. But how many abs does Prince Harry have? I think that kind of already puts Channing Tatum higher on the list. Like just a guy that knows how to go to the gym and take care of himself.
Oh yeah, he's
That's
super fit.
Very important, I think.
In fact, I remember you telling me when we met, I'm gonna get abs like Channing Tatum. Do you remember?
Yeah, I kind of remember saying
because
that.
he knew I was gonna go see the movie. I was upfront about it, and then he was like, "I'm gonna get abs like Channing Tatum."
Still working on it.
Hey, you've come really far.
Thank you. Thanks to you, dragging my butt to the gym.
All right, I think that's it.
Yep.
That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Let us know what you think about the Australian Meghan Markle, Lydia Thorpe. I mean, it's scary because it just tells me that in 10 years, because Lydia's 10 years older, Meghan's just going to be the same, if not worse.
Yeah, but except will she be expelled from the royal family for acting like Lydia Thorpe? It's just,
She expelled herself.
I mean, more that will it be official? Because we've talked about that before.
I think that will only be through divorce, by the way. And not even because of the kids. But anyways, yeah, let us know what you think. And any last words? Why does that sound so ominous?
Last words. Yeah, we'll see you in the next one, guys.
All right. Later.